Perfecto. Okay. I'm going to share my screen and pull up a code sandbox. Yeah, let's share the whole screen. Yeah. Yeah. So CSS grid. CSS grid is like something that I, as a person, I can't do without. It's probably one of the most special part of CSS. If you were on the last class that Nelson introduced, or you watched the video, he gave introduction in his slide and all about CSS grid, and I'm going to build on that. But I'm also like going to take it that you also did not learn anything, right? I'm also going to take it that you didn't learn anything and still manage to carry everyone over. And if we have some time at the end of the day, I'll ask one of you to have a code sandbox and they will demo what they've learned. It could be any one of you. So make sure you pay attention, right? So let's dive in. So as usual, we have our normal template, CSS HTML template. There's nothing here. Let's get rid of everything. We create our style.css as always. And we link it, right? So put a link. Oh yes, my sister said I should increase the font. Yes, I've done it for you. So we'll link the style sheet now, and we can now start coding. Let's keep it by the side. And what I want to do is leave things in grid, right? Or probably let's say that I'll get a layout just as I did in last time. Oh, I remember the perfect thing. Last time that I taught you guys, we had two layouts, but we were able to implement one with Flexbox. Let's implement the second one with the CSS grid. So I'm going to pull out what do you call it? My Finder, hoping that the image is there. Oh, come on. Oh, come on. Oh, come on. Where are you? It should be in downloads, right? Yeah, no shit. I'll just re-download it anyways. So dribble.com and not the right dribble. And let's find I think we searched for news websites last time, right? Or we just said news, and we went for web design. Yeah, this was a very nice design to actually implement with grid. Or could I do this? I could also do this too, right? But let's look for this. If I can't find it, I'll just come back here and take that one. So no. Let's take this one. This is more challenging, but then yeah, it will be a good demo, right? Okay. So this looks good. This is a blog website, right? And then I could pick this out and tear it down, all right? As we normally do. Like basically when you get design, you try like try to tear them down in ways that you want to lay out your elements, right? So I'm just going to snipe this out. But basically our website is really this, but I just want to take everything out. So let's find that particular thing on my Finder. Come on, why can't I? Let me sort this out. So we clean up by date modified, and then I can pull it up. No, not downloads. Yeah, desktop. I'm sorry. Okay, anyways, so let's go. We pick this out. We we try to make regions are. So first region you see here is the navbar, right? And you see this navbar, simple navbar, all right? We made this before. This would go easily with Flexbox. You can make a responsive navbar easily with Flexbox, right? And for this bar, let's duplicate this, Control CV, then we can put this down. And we now have the whole website as the second element. And CV. And again, we have another one. We have the first component here, which is this part, which is this. I think we just have this heading actually. Oh, come on, go out. We have this heading here. We can seclude this. We can remove this. We can consider this as a section, right? And we have this particular one. I think I'm tired of making this, but let me just finish it anyways. Control C, Control V. Okay, drag it down. Let's try to put some boundary here. And there's this, and there is just C, V, and there is, come on, give me the hand here. And there is this one. So far we are seeing that we could just have like around like 5 regions in the whole website, right? And what you see, let me see if I can change the color of this. If I change the color of this to something like green and try to change this one for green, right? What you see here is that the green ones look the same. They have similar design inside them, right? And this design, okay, they look the same, quite all right. And then we can combine both Flex and Flexbox and CSS Grid with this. But today I'll try not to do Flexbox. But when we move to more advanced level, we'll try to use two of them in the same time in the process, in the places where they are more they are more likely to be used, or where I would prefer to use them, or where they make more sense to be used, right? I normally use CSS Grid for more complex things, for things that I need to get to be exact. Flexbox when I want things to be flexible, right? And don't use any of them when I don't need any of them, right? So with CSS Grid, what we can do is let's start making the navbar first. So we have this region, first region, second region, third region, fourth region, and fifth region. So let's take it from the first one. So we go back to page, let me remember. So we have this just simple navbar. Let's do this. We'll go back here. Are you guys following?
Yes, we are.
Okay, good. Please feel free to stop me anytime, please. And it's also good that I get feedback from you. So let's start coding. Yes, we have a nav, right? And then this nav has, say, H2 of a logo with D in it. And then we have another items, and then these another items they have like, it has a list items of like, I think there are like 5 items there, and we can probably give the username of people in the classes for the nav items, and if I remember all of your name, and Godspeed, and I think there's one more, and yeah, okay, let's go. So we'll have this, right? We'll refresh, and this is what we'll get, right? And then we can start styling already, right? So we target this nav, and from this nav, we can target the H2 and target the UL too, right? So, but before then, remember, let's reset the styles that we get on everything, right? The margin that is by default comes with CSS. So some specific things get like margins and padding, and I don't want that. And also the box sizing, I want to set it to border box, so it makes more sense, right? So everything should be border box, padding of everything should be 0, and margin of everything should be 0, except if I explicitly say they are not. So you can consider this part to be reset. Let's make this say reset. And yeah, and this looks good already. I mean, I haven't even done anything. Yeah, and it already looks good. So, and then I say nav. So we target the first nav, and we say that this nav will be displayed flex. Oh, sorry, grid today. So we display grid, and nothing happened, right? So unlike flex boss, when we just say display flex, right? We display flags, and you see that things are already like changing, right? You already see that they're already in line, even though they're actually like just opposed on each other, which I'm not sure why they are this way, right? And but if we do grid, nothing changes, right? Because grid needs for you to like tell it specific ways to actually like lay out the items, right? So, and since look at what we want to design here, what we want to design is this particular thing. So how we want to lay them out is in columns, right? We want to lay them out in columns and put some space between the logo and also the nav items, right? So we go back to the website, and how we do this is what we call grid template. And grid templates has different ones. There's grid template columns for laying out things in columns, and there's grid template rows for how you lay things in the rows, right? And I will explain them as time goes on. So don't worry about that. So the rule is grid template columns, and it has a variety of things that you can supply to it, right? And I will show you for a moment. But let's, for example, just say 1FR, 1FR. And 1FR means one fraction of the space, right? So it's saying that there'll be two items. Basically, there'll be two columns, right? Lay them out, create two columns of equal size. Create two columns basically that the first one shares one fraction of all the space, and the second column shares one fraction of the space, which almost sounds like Flexbox. And this equivalent of this in Flexbox will be display flex, right? If you say display flex, right? And then we now say that basically whatever items is in the nav, so basically the items in the nav should have a flex of 1, right? So this is basically the H2 in the nav, and also the UL in the nav. And then if we should clear this out, and it looks the same, right? So you see how two of them are coming together, right? And like how you can do most things with each other, right? Which is very interesting. So we'll leave it at as the CSS grid and continue. So this is equivalent, right? And I will also show you on the browser how you can actually do this. So if we go to our dev tool, right? Let me turn on this responsiveness. And we come to this element. You see this nav here, right? You're seeing that there's a grid here. Before, when we display flex, you will see that what will be here would be flex, right? You see that there's a flex here. But if we change it to grid, you see that this is display grid. And not all the browser does this, but Chrome does this, and it's really, really good. But the cool thing here is that if I click on this, if I click on that grid, you will see that it marks out the sections, right? It marks out the section. Let me put a padding on the body so that everything we do is like within the page, so you can see actually the boundaries around there. So let me just do it in a moment. So let's target our body and say that our body has a padding of 2 rem basically. I think this should suffice. And if we should come back here, and this is this way, and we click on this, you see this. So this gives you a very good visual, right? So if you look at this now, if you look at this particular element now, you're seeing the 2 sections is divided into equal half, right? And you're seeing these numberings. These numberings are very important. They are very important, and you will see in a moment. You see that the first one goes from 1 to 2, and then the second section goes from 2 to 3, right? this, because there are two columns, right? So that there's this column from here to here, right, is one column, and that column is this, right? If this was so if I change this one FR to one FR, another one FR, you will see that another section has been added, right? It's not 1, 2, 3, right? 3 columns, right? And the end is 4, but the columns are actually 1, 2, and 3, right? And if I should make it into 4, it will be divided into 4 equal spaces, right? So this is simple, right? So the one FR is saying the fraction of space each column would take. So if the second one takes 2 fraction, you would see that now it takes 2 fraction of the space. It's not larger than other ones, right? And if I now say that this center one is 200 pixel, it will take 200 pixel, and that's what it will take. And if I try to resize this, that 200 pixel will never change. It's always 200 pixel. But other ones actually change because they're only taking fractions of the space. If I'm fast, let me know. I think I'm blazing, but are you guys following?
Yes, we are. We are.
Okay, perfect. Okay, good. You're following. Okay, I love that. Hey, please, if you're not following at some point, feel free to call me back. Okay. But does the things I'm explaining make sense to you? Do you understand the fractions?
Yes, we do. I do.
Okay, good. So I'll change this back to what we had before, which was one FR, right? So 2 equal spaces. Perfect. That's what we wanted from the website we're going to design. And if we look at this, we had this one is here, and this nav is here. So what we want to do, yeah, we are going to see in a moment how this will actually look very good. So if we keep designing on the browser, we can later take it back there, because the browser will see better than in Code Sandbox. So what I would do now is say, okay, let's get now the URLs, right? And make the URLs be displayed grid too, right? So we get the URL and say display them grid, right? And nothing changes as usual until we say, okay, spread them out. But the thing okay, should I confuse you or should I not? I think I should do the easiest thing. What I'm going to do is there's a way we could have done this to just make them lie out in rows, and that would be, I think I should try to remember, should be grid auto flows would be I think columns, right? So when we say, so what happens here, this particular thing I just did now is equivalent of saying display flags, right? Everything is display grid, right? Sorry, displayed flags. So it just put them inline flags with each other. Everything is in line with each other, right? But with grid, it doesn't lay out things in columns by default. But if you want them to be laid out in columns, you can say that the auto flow property would be in column, and that's how you get it to be in columns. So unlike in Flexbox, if I had in Flexbox, right, if I had this is flex, and I want them instead to be in columns, what I would do is that I would say flex direction, right, to the column, right? So you see how you go from the other to the other. Very, very cool. I think this is interesting. Yeah. Okay, so we'll go back to the grid, and we have this now lined out in columns, right? And you already seen our nav coming out very, very fine, right? If we remove this highlighting that we have on the grid, and something else would do for the UL is say that this style is none, so we remove those bullet points, and now our links looks very good. Sorry, not really our links, but basically our nav looks good. And all of a sudden, it's almost looking like the nav we had before. So if you look at what we're building this, and you see the spacing already is the same, right? I don't want to do colors because I realize that if I try doing colors, you guys get lost in me trying to stylize things. So today, I am doing no color. I'm just going to be placing things. I want you to focus on laying out. Laying out is the hardest part. If you get laying out very well, you can color everything however you want. You can put green and red everywhere. So focus on the layout. So we get this. The nav bar is the best nav bar ever made in the world, all right? So yeah, if you ask me. And then this looks good for me. And all we just need to do now is basically take the style that we wrote here, right? Which we wrote a style for the UL, and I will tell you a thing, right? So if we put this style for the UL here, this will affect every UL that will ever be in this page. But we want this UL to only be, we want this UL to, this rule to only affect the UL that's inside the nav. So we say that this style is saying the UL that is directly inside the nav. That's this forward the right angular bracket is saying that it's only the UL that is a direct child of the nav should be styled this way. If I remove this, it means every UL inside the nav should be styled this way, including ones that are nested inside another thing, but as far as inside the nav, styled this way. So I wanted to be specific to only be the one that comes directly inside the nav. So that's why I put this, and now we see this styled out. And you see that these things are taking the space. You see that when the space is being resized, they try to clump into each other, right? Right. And then now we don't like how these things kind of collapse into each other. It's not good to the eye, right? So there's a handy property for that. It's called gap. And as intuitive as it sounds, yeah, we can just say this gap is one rem, right? And what happens is that if you're not trying to resize it, they don't clump into each other. Perfect, right? Anakukwa keba, I need to see, but anakukwa keba.
I saw Anaku, because this thing gave me issue.
Anaku.
Yes, we are clapping.
Yeah, don't worry. I got you. Maria is laughing. Good. Okay. Yeah. So now, I'm very satisfied with this nav bar. I'm not sure about you, but let's recap on what we did. What we did was simple, right? The only thing we did was we just said display the nav bar grid and partition it into 2 columns, right? By the one FR for grid template columns. We didn't even touch the H2. They didn't do anything for the H2, and it's perfectly fine, right? Well positioned. And we go to the UL and said, okay, display is grid, but make everything to be in column, right? And then just remove that annoying bullet points that you normally have with the list by saying the list style is equal to none. And then, because things clump together when we resize them, we don't want that to resize, to be a very bad user interface, right? We now say, okay, put a gap in between the elements, one rem. And when we click on this grid, you're seeing that gap between them. You can see that tiny space between them. Like when I hover on this, right? Let me hover on this again. You're seeing that gap, that pop-up side. That's the one rem that it's put there by default, right? So that it's there. Even though that things are actually like spaced out clearly right now, that even though it comes down, no matter how it comes down, that space, that one rem would never be violated. If you look at them, that space still remains there, right? So always using the browser to look at the style you're applying is always one of the coolest parts about using the browser dev tool. I always try to like pitch this idea to you guys. Use the browser dev tool, it's your best friend, right? So FX navbar, we have recapped. Let's move on to other part. So next part is very simple. It's just a H1. It's the title of the website. And we do that, right? So let's just put a H1 somewhere. So down here, after the nav, so we're done with the nav now, then we have a H1, right? And say the blog. And just to make it, because we're cool guys with a cool name, just make it S Machina blog, right? And we'll save this. And this shows here, right? But so I don't really like this the font here. So I'm just going to override the font family here to something like sans serif, right? And I'm not sure if it's even important to tell you what sans serif is, but I'll tell you anyways. Let's take this Tahoma. So basically, serif, I think it's a Latin or something, but the key thing there is that it means a cap, right? So when I remove this by default, you're seeing that it's using a Times New Roman font that have this cap at the end of the font. So you're seeing these caps at the top of the font. This T has a cap, all these have a cap, right? So when we now say sans means without, right? So it means, okay, this is sans serif. It means don't have the cap on the letters. And when we save them, you see that those caps goes away, right? And then let's move on. That's a little bit intro into font families. Yeah. And then we're just going to have like a margin at the top side of these, right? At the top and bottom part of it, so that it can just have a space between the nav and itself. So we're going to just make the horizontal part and set we're setting the vertical part. That's the first element here. When we provide two, because the margin takes normally four items, right? It goes like, I think, left, top, right, bottom, right? But then when we provide only two, it uses the first one for the top and bottom, and then the second one will be used for the horizontal axis, that's left and right. And then we're saying don't add the margin there, it's fine, right? So when we put this, it brings it down, right? And you can easily see that here by looking, if we refresh on this side and look at this H1, we are seeing that that margin, the yellow part is the margin of 1rem. So this looks good. And I think the 1rem doesn't actually look very good. So I'm just going to bump this to 2rem and come down a bit. And then let's try the font size, and let's bump the font size to something like I'm not sure if 3rem would look good, but I want this to be as big as we saw in that. And also, you're seeing that this is clamping on one side, right? And I'm not sure why I think there's not much space for it to take, right? But let's see if you set the width to 100%, if it will just like take the whole width. No, it doesn't. And this could be because, because we put this in our nav, right? We put the H1 in our nav, and nav is displayed grid, right? And then remember that there are two columns, so it automatically went inside the two columns, right? Even though I didn't want to teach this part, but it's what happened, right? Because the first two elements, you remember, we only have two columns. So the heading, the logo here, the D was the first item that goes into the first column. Then our list of the nav items was the second thing in the next column. So when you put a third thing, it automatically put them in the first column. If I put a fourth one, it will come here too. So, but if we just drag this down out of the nav bar, I think we can drag this down here. And you see that it's already taken the full weight, and we don't even need to take this full width 100% because headings are actually like block elements. So by default, they have a width of 100%. So I'll just have to go here and correct it in my HTML, in my here. So move it down below the tag, right? Yeah. So this is good. This looks perfect to me, if you ask me, which it shouldn't. So we have the blog now, and then we're making the what's our time? We have 15 minutes left. How the fuck does time run this fast? Even though I'm trying to talk very fast, I'll beat the time. Let me see.
What the class is
1 hour 30 minutes. Yes. Oh dear God. I promised my friend I'll be back in an hour. But I'll do anything for you guys. They will hate me for this, but yeah, you guys have priorities. Okay. So we bumped back to the website, and we wanted to design this second part. Let's go back to our design, our sketch, right? And we are here, right? And can someone tell me how I should design this part? Let's say, just give me how you think I should go about this. Any person volunteer, tell me how you think I should design this particular side from things I've thought so far. Just anything, there's no wrong answers, yeah? Unmute yourself and feel free to talk.
I think that you're going to use the grid option as well there.
Okay.
First off, you would have to like create this image and resize it and use the grid option. Then you can then section this particular place into two. I don't know if I'm saying rubbish.
No, there's no wrong answer. There's no wrong answer, and you're actually getting it if you need to know.
Okay, yeah?
So that's perfect. That's very good actually, because I'm going to turn it into two columns, right? Because I want if you look at this, it's almost like they have equal parts, right? The image part and the text area part, the text parts, right? They almost like share the same size roughly, right? So all I just need to do is create an element that holds the two of them, make that parent element display grid, and then set the element to just have one FR, just two columns, right? And those things will just enter in place. Let's do it. And then we go here. So let's make a section, right? And this section should be called hero, right? So because I think we're going to have
maybe beyond my abilities at the moment.
Get out. And my watch is talking to me. I don't know why it's eavesdropping. So we'll give it a class of hero so that we know that's the hero layout of our page. And I'm not going to do any serious thing for the image. I'm just going to use a div and give it a color of purple, and so that it will replace our image. You don't have to worry about that. So what I will just have to do here is I have a div with a class of purple, and nothing is going to be inside it. You should not do this normal days, but I'm just trying to, so you don't have to like go about looking for image. And the second part is the text part. So I'm going to have something. Let's just use article. I'm not sure if this makes sense, but let's just use an article here. And the first part is that we have this top thing here, which is the date basically, right? I think this text is probably in some Asian language, like I don't know, those Bangladesh and all. Anyways, I also got. I'm making this video on YouTube. You remember when someone is watching this video, like say all those Bangladesh and all. Anyways, yeah, this looks like some Asian languages. I'm not sure. It could just be random text generated on the internet. Anyways, there's this date part here that's just very tiny, and there is a bigger part here. So we want this to be full width, take all the whole full width, so nothing comes on this part. So we can use a paragraph here, but size it to be little, and then we can use like H3 here. I think H3 will be cool for here. We use a paragraph for here too, right? So let's go back to our website. Okay, come back here and come back. Okay. So first we go with the first P, and the first P has like date, so we're going to say March 15, 2023, and then we have a H3 of something that could be let's have lorem ipsum by the side, so you can easily copy like random text. And when you're doing your project, for example, you can use lorem ipsum. Don't worry about like having like correct things about the content. Use lorem ipsum. What's important is that you capture what you need to do for the day, right? But I understand why you guys want to like put content of a news website, but don't waste your time if that's not what I thought in that week. We're just putting it out there. So let's copy this. And then we go back here and put this in our history. This is loads of text. And I think I can do Option Z to wrap this, right? And then we have another paragraph tag, and this says something like blah, 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 blah. Perfect. So I'm just going to copy this for blah, 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 blah. And yeah, we'll put this here. And when we save this, it looks perfect. Of course, our div is not rendered because it doesn't, normally div does not have a height or a width, so it doesn't show. So the other part is just showed here. But let's now go here and try our hands in the browser, see how we'll shape this up. So we get here for the section actually, and first thing we'll do is set display grid. So today is just about displaying grid, everything display grid. And so we go for grid template columns, right? And we say 1FR and 1FR. And you see already, even though that a div does not take a space and the width, the grid doesn't actually care about the content. What it cares is that I'm supposed to make these spaces for my children, right? The section, which is the grid itself, which has the grid in itself, is saying, I'm going to make this space for my children. And this is how I'm going to share for them. It's like partitioning. It's like the father of the prodigal son, when the prodigal son say, I want to share I want you to give my heritage, right? My inheritance, basically. And the father shared everything he has into half. So this grid has been told to share everything into half, and it's like, okay, I'll share it into half. Whether the div, which is the prodigal son, doesn't have anything in him to give, I will still give him that half of the space. That's what's happening now. This actually like this goes very well. Yeah, forgive me now, I'm laughing, but this actually like this goes well. Anyways, so that's just what it does, even though this div doesn't hold a space here, right? And then what we should now do for the div is that just to style it for the purpose of this, just like we say, background color would be purple, all right? And we are not currently selecting this like in a proper way, because I would want to just do dot class purple, right? And this should be better to actually like do, right? But there is something you should understand, like something I wanted to like make you people like pay attention here, is that if you look at the computer property of this div, that this div currently have a size. It has width and height. You're seeing it here, right? It has a width and height. But previously, when we did not put this grid here, if you look at this div computer property, right? It has a width that extends to the end, but does not have any height, right? So, and this doesn't actually get rendered at all, right? So one of the dimension is missing. There's not how a browser renders something that doesn't have any of the dimension. So you cannot actually construct a rectangle, because you need to have a width and height to construct a rectangle. So there is nothing there constructed. But because we just say the parent should be displayed grid, then that div already knows the space is supposed to take, and it's already taking that particular space, right? So that's something you should actually like be aware of, right? And what we have to do now is, if you look at this block, they have like a space between them. This looks like 2 rem, so let's give them 2 rem between them, right? So we say, okay, for the section here, have a gap of 2 rem, and it puts the gap between them. And for this div, we want to make it like increase the height a bit. So let's make this height to look something like 300 pixels. This is too much. Yeah, make it 250 pixel. Yeah, this is about it. So this is about it. My UK stupid accent. Okay. Anyway, so this looks like more like a and then this looks good. And I think we don't even need to do any more styling for the text anyways. But if we look at the blog, this font actually like looks a lot bigger than what we have. So we probably should increase that to make it take like more space. And we should just get into the article here, get the H3 and bump the size, the font size up. Let's make this like 2 rem, and perfecto, it fits in. And 2 rem is good for us. And yeah, so this particular part looks good, looks perfect to me. So we have our grid with a gap in the section, right? Has a grid with 2 items, one FR, one FR. Let's look at this space, yeah? One FR, one FR, so 2 columns, and put a gap of 2 rem between them. And this is, we can save this and they take the space. You see how they are resizing to take the good space. But if you look at the problem with this becomes that this particular what do you call it? The width here doesn't extend when it should extend, right? Like if you've seen that this part is extending, but it's not extending. There are ways we can fix this. Well, we should probably skip this by now, but I know I can't skip it. It's wrong with me. Okay, so I think how we can fix this. Let me try to think. How we can fix this is by using, is it align items or justify content? Align items is which one? Okay, let's use this here. I don't remember if align items is on the horizontal or the vertical, or if justify is horizontal or vertical. So we can easily use here, and then we can see how it goes here. So align content is basically on the vertical axis, you can see here, and then justify content is basically on this. So we can choose align items to normal. This is not what we want. Let's pick this one. Stretch doesn't stretch it. Are you kidding me? Right? So this doesn't stretch because I'm totally guessing right now. because of this height that was set here, right? If you remove the height of 250 pixel, right here, then it will be set, right? But then there becomes a problem. The problem is that when we now start going back, right, then it can now go back into this tiny shape that we didn't want. And then this is where mean height comes into play, right? So you can come into, instead of setting a height here, you say mean height should be 250 pixel, so that it still takes the whole height that is allotted to it, but it shouldn't go below that 250 pixel, right? So it always stay at that 250 pixel. So this means height is good. So this looks good. I've introduced something called mean height just in this grade lecture. And mean height means the minimum height a thing could take. It means that it could probably have any amount of height, but this is the minimum it could go. So it's implied by the name of it. So let's just copy this over to what we have, to our CSS. And we have the style for this section. So we go to our code and say, let's style the section that has a class of hero. So the section has a class of hero. If you look at it here, it has this class of hero. So we can say section dot hero, which dot means the class, right? So we're targeting this. Then we would say, okay, if we want to target this purple inside here, or probably we wanted anything that will give a class of purple just be purple. So this is fine. We can just say dot purple should have a background color. So I could do BGC to complete this, and we can do purple, right? And this is fine. But then when I want to, because we could have like multiple article here, I want to target this article in relation to the section. So I would say section the hero, right? The article that comes within there, right? This is what I want you to target. And if you look at what we styled here, right? We've seen that in this here, in the article, we didn't actually style anything. What we styled was just the H3 inside the article. We gave it a font size of 2 rem. So all we need to do is come back to the code and say, for that particular H3 inside it, that means we have to go deeper in the article, get that H3 and say, okay, your font size should be 2 rem. And then remember that div that is a sibling of this article here, right? This div here that we just use for this color, we gave this a min height. So we can also target it by saying, go into section that has the class of hero, go into it and target the div inside it. And then give it a min height of 250 pixel. We can bump this to 300 pixel. So it just looks a lot better. So if we do this, it should look good. And this is what we have here. And we resize and it's looking good, right? It's almost responsive, right? It's almost responsive, right? So looking good so far, if you ask me, which you shouldn't. Yeah, so we go back to our main website, refresh this, and the style stays. So second part done, right? All these things, so far we have almost like a very nice website, right? And all we just used was CSS Grid. That's how powerful CSS Grid is, right? You can model a lot of different complex layer, and what I've taught you so far is just like a tiny bit of CSS Grid. There's a lot more complex properties and a lot of ways to get things done. But don't worry, we'll get to that, right? Even though next class we are going to focus on responsive design, which Akin would take, that should be tomorrow. And in that class, he would mention CSS Grid and Flexbus because they're very important components of responsive design, and probably media queries, right? So he would mention that. So we'll still bring up CSS Grid now and then, but this class is not supposed to like teach you everything about it. This class is supposed to give you an idea that you might actually go out by yourself and read it more. So after the class, I will send more articles on CSS Grid, probably videos, Westboss videos, because I learned CSS Grid from Westboss videos on YouTube like in 2019, right? So I think they're very helpful. You should check them out, right? So I'll tell you about the possibility of these things and let you know how you can think about this when you see a design that's my duty. Then it's your duty to know more complex, like know in depth about the knowledge, right? What I do is I open your mind to possibilities, right? Then you fill your mind those possibilities with stuffs, with the real stuff. That's my duty, is to just make you know things that are possible, right? And make you hungry for knowledge, basically. So we keep going. I think we have a couple of time. My friends are going to be enriched, but yeah, there's nothing I can do. And then this is where something cool comes, and I'm going to probably blow your mind here, and you're going to be like, wow, let's watch this. So we have 3 items here, but what you would see here is that there is something going on here. Let's mark this out. Let's get a rectangle. What happened? Control Z, Control Z. Give me a rectangle, please. Yeah, and let's take this one. And you can see, oh, come on, please. Yes, you can see that this thing, this particular section, looks almost the same with this, except that they have different images and different contexts, but they have the same style. And like in your style eyes as a CSS developer, you already seen that these same things are the same basically, and they are the same with the one below them, right? So instead of saying this as actually, let me delete this. Instead of seeing these 2 parts are different section, you could see them as one section, right? This would be how to develop it on a normal day and make it responsive. But with your CSS grid eyes, you already seen that. Okay, you don't already see because I'm not touching this part. But when I teach you, you're going to see that this part is just one section. So we don't even need to keep this part. We just need to expand this. And what we need to do is let's build one component for this that can represent this, and then duplicate it to 6 items, and then use CSS grid to achieve this design. Let's do. Yes. So we get this. And then let's have after this section, we have a section of let's call them cards, or maybe card containers, right? So it's a container that have cards, basically. Card container. Oh, cards container. Oh my God, forgive your son. Okay, card container. This doesn't look very, very, very bad. We'll go with this. And currently, I'm just going to try to style the first item in the container. Let's say I have an article here, right? Article, and let's give it a class of card, right? So this is containing card, so each of the item here should be card, right? So it makes sense. So, oh shit, I'm sorry about that. I have had one beer and I'm belching. So we have an image at the top of here, which we're going to replicate with a div. We're just going to call it purple, so it get the class that we targeted for purple, right? And then we have a paragraph at the top, a paragraph below, a H3 below, maybe make this a H2. H3 is fine, and we'll make this a paragraph too, right? So let's do this. And inside this place, we have a purple div, right? Oh, come on, if I can type. Yeah, we have the purple div, and then we now have. Let's take this to be a div. No. Let's not take it to be a div. Let's not complicate lives. Let's make it easy. So we have a paragraph here. You can copy lorem ipsum and say just why do we use it, right? And come here, and in the second one, we have a H3, and this H3 should have the content of what we have there. And is this too much compared to our design? Yeah, this is too much. It will have like six items, so we just copy say 6 items, right? And we do this here, and then there's a p tag, and then the p tag just says something like, I think it says something. No, it has a content, so we can copy more, right? And yeah, we do this, and I think the first p tag actually is something like a date too. So we're going to just change that to a date, so it just look like more uniform everywhere. So we'll do this like February 4th, 20, 35, or 45, or whichever. And we save this, right? And when we scroll up, you see how it looks, right? And what we just have to do is let's go back to the browser and start playing around with things, right? So let me refresh. No, don't do that. Yeah.
No, I think it's clearer when you're doing it on Cosambos than on Black browser.
Really?
For me, I don't know for
Okay. Anybody has an opinion about that? Anyone that prefers it on the code sandbox to the browser? Okay,
No.
I'll just get. You prefer it on the browser? Where do you prefer it? Should I do it on the browser or the code sandbox?
Clearer.
On where?
Code sandbox is clearer.
Oh God. Guys, coding on the browser is the best thing that ever happened to web developers. What is wrong with you guys? But yeah, your wish is my command. Anyways, so let's do this. So we said, okay, cards container, right? And cards container, so far we don't let's just give it a margin. So it's a praise things from it's a praise from the top. So we're just going to give this is just simple margin top, just like 2rem, just give a good space between them so you don't clutter the page. Cards container, yeah, good, yeah. So this space is not bad if you ask me. And then it's bad. Yeah, more space is always good. And we don't have to space anything right now. So let's just focus on making this article very good. So we have our cards, and this is where you're going to see reusable style, right? Because we are going to have many cards, right? And only one style that we did will affect all of them, right? So it's almost like you do one style and then it affects a lot of components. So you're doing reusable styles that can affect a lot of things, and you only do it once, right? So because you know we're going to have 6 cards. Currently, we just have one. So let's focus on styling that one. So that particular one, because today is CSS grid day, we display its grid. What can we not do? And we can't do anything. Display grid, and nothing happened. My problem with this is that this always refreshes every time I do this, but you guys said this is what you want. And let me check if this live stream is still ongoing. Are you kidding me? Yeah, it's still ongoing. Yeah, good guy. And so I display grid, right? And then I think I had a purple class here. Why didn't it affect it? Div the purple background color. Yes, but it wasn't affected because the div doesn't have a class, a height or a weight. Yeah, it's fine. So let's make the div the first div. This is the first div. Not all the div wants to target the first div or in this particular article, right? So how can we do that? So we're going to do the cards, select the first item in this particular thing. We have to do, this will be div, we can do end. Oh, come on, there should be ends of type. No, end of type. Oh, can actually do first of type, actually. That should make our life easier. And we'll give it like a min height of let's say 200 pixel. I'm not sure this thing would work, but if it works, I will be very happy. It did not work.
Sorry. What does that mean? The first of type.
Actually, first of type means like the first item in this particular what do I call it? In this particular container, the first of type means the first of all the divs, right? And but as you can see clearly, this is not a good selection because it's not actually selecting it. And let me see. And this is because this is card, not cards, right? So I'm going to make this card. And let's see if I got it. Oh, I got it. I still have it in me. For a moment, I thought I don't got it anymore. But apparently, I still got it. So, uh, so yeah. Anyway, it's not my me. So what it means is that inside this card component, right? That the first div should be selected, right? So if I say first of type, basically it can affect any of the elements, right? But if I say, if I say ends of child, basically it's going to target any child of the any child of this particular article. But when I say div ends of type, it means that it's going to target the number of, and it's only going to be for divs. So if I come here and say div, another div here, and say purple, right? If I just say a div basically and say hello, right? This div is not affected, right? Because I'm only targeting end, the first of child. But you would realize here that if I say, because we only have first of child anyway, so we can say end of type. If I say end of type and say one, it's still the first one that will be affected, right? This minimum one. And if I say this hello is here, right? But you see that the minimum height is not affecting it. If I say the third one, because if you look at here, that this div is the third element here, do you think it should affect it? Anyone? What do you think? Should it affect the div?
It won't. I don't think it should affect because you said div, not element.
Exactly, and we are doing ends of type, so it's going to be it will have to be on the div actually, and you're correct. It didn't affect it, but if you say the second div here, which means the second div, it should affect it, and we'll have this. So you're correct. That's amazing. I love you for that. Yeah. So go back and say first of type, right? And we put the min height here. Let's remove that hello for a moment because we don't need it. It's not part of our design. And the H3 here kind of looks good to me compared to our design. Yeah, it looks good to me. And all we have to do, the remaining thing to make our design look kind of cool, is probably to make the purple class to have a border radius. I said I'm not going to fall for these things, but I'm doing this. So let's make it just 10 pixel. And they were going to have like these corner edges around this thing. It looks good. So we have this, right? And we made this style for just one card, right? But we wanted to have 6 cards, right? And let's say that I fell for this. I felt to just make things look a little bit finer. So I'm going to have more color classes, right? I'm going to have more color classes because I can't reject. I can't. So I'm going to have 33cc 33. Whew. First that was a green, I remember. And then let's have orange, right? And here I'm not going to type a hash code in case you think I cramp hash code. I'm not going to type a hash code. I'm going to just use orange, right? And I'm going to have a class of, say, let's do watercolors that actually looks nice in the eye. Let's do tail, and then this is going to be tail. Let's do something like cyan, not bad, yeah. Let's do cyan. And then last but not the least, let's do something like just black, because why not? And no, let's use my favorite yellow. Yeah. And we're going to do my favorite yellow. Yeah, this is one of the hair code I have. I'm sorry, I said I'm not going to do more hair codes. Anyway, I just put this so that because we're going to have 6 items, I just want to differentiate them just by the colors, right? So, but the key thing here, don't look at this color. These are not important, right? What's important is that we only have these cards here, this style for the card, right? And it's going to be awesome at the end of the day, right? But then remember that we made this to be grid, right? If you look at the design, there's a space between the items here. So let's imagine that this space is just like, say, 1 rem. Let's see if 1 rem will be good for it. So we say the gap is 1 rem. Let's see what happens. Yeah, it put a gap between them. So this gap is probably too much. We could probably like bump it to 0.8 rem, right? And yeah, looks a little bit simpler. So this style is applied to the card, and this is applied to this. All this thing is just on the card, right? The card class and the items in it. But this would now scale over to any amount of card we would ever have. So let's say now that I duplicate this particular items into 6 times, right? So I'm going to this. So I just duplicated this into a couple of times, right? Let's see how many times I have it. I have a couple of times. So I have this, and I'm going to change this one here. Just change the class to yellow so it's differentiated. I have another one called orange, tail, and remind me yellow. And there should be last one. There should be a last one. There should be a last one. What was the class? What was that color class? Science.
Green.
Oh, I did green too. Yeah, I did green. Oh, that's too much. We don't need green. Sorry, green. So now you see, let's go here and refresh this in the main browser. You see how they stack up. They're just here, all of them. But what you see is that all of them has that style of that. Let's see. Yes, baby. Yes, baby. Yes, let's do this. So I finally find a way to hack YouTube. I thought they could stop me. They can't stop me. Okay, let's continue going. This is we're almost rounding up, and we're done with this website. Imagine we built a website in an hour, 30 minutes, right? I know you say it's because of me, but if you take this process, you can build just a tiny website in a couple of minutes. Just the layout and the basic layout. You can build it in a simple 130 minutes. So when I give you a weekend to build a project, it's too much. Anyways, let's continue, and I'll stop my ranting. But what I wanted you guys to know here is we have just a .card class, but because these articles have that card class, have the same element, they all inherited that style, and I don't have to like style all of them the same. And I'm hammering this home because this is actually like a very, very good design, very good pattern in CSS to have like and styles that you can just like use on everyone. So you see that all these things have .card, and that's why they have this style. So we don't have to redesign them twice, right? Then, how do we then make them look like this, right? Because it seems like we have something that look like these items, but they're not in the way that they don't look like this. So what we can do, let me come back here, is we go to the cards container. Remember, did we say display grid? Didn't say display grid. So now we say display grid because why not? We said display grid. Nothing happened, right? As you could guess, that nothing happened. And what we could do, currently we have 3 columns, right? We have 3 columns. So you could just guess that would say that the GTC grid template columns is 1FR, 1FR, 1FR. And voila, we have this. Hey, this is almost perfect, but we don't have a gap, so let's put a gap here. And we have 1 rem. And lo and behold, ladies and gentlemen, you have a clean website. Very,
Wow.
very clean website. Simple.
Easier than I thought.
You see, easier than I thought. You were thinking this is going to be super complex. No, it's not. This is very easy. As once you get the basic concept. Let's bump this. What do you call it? The gap to like 2 rem so that they're actually like well spaced out. 2 rem is probably too much, but there's nothing we can do. So we'll come back here, and 2 rem looks pretty clean to me, right? Compared to this, it looks close, right? It looks quite close if you ask me. We didn't do any of the style, but this so far got the same layout. Our nav bar is responsive. This part, do you see this? This doesn't look good. It doesn't. Look at it. Look at it. You see, all of them just turn to this thing, right? This is not what we want. And remember, I told you that CSS grid brings responsibility into the picture. We can design things that scale with screen sizes as we are reshaping it, right? And And then this is where I blow your mind, right? So what I would do here, I would do something here that we've not done before, right? And this is a mouthful. This is a big one to take, but hear me out. I'll write it, then I'll explain it. Autofit. We say repeat autofit means, oh, we're going to resize this just basically as you see it fit, just resize them automatically. And then we say it has to be within a min max. Min max means we're going to give it a minimum size that it wouldn't go below. So when this is below this size, this must always have at least this particular size, and then bump have one FR, right? And then this thing here, right, has made our website super amazing. Let's refresh here. And if I start resizing, see that it saw that there's space up here, and that's why it bumped this to be many items. And as we are resizing, they are going to take more space, right? So if the space start decreasing, they will go and join another one, right? And I go down now, I can go down more, and you see that all of them becomes on one column. And this is what you expect to see on a mobile phone. So let's simulate that we're using a mobile phone. Let's set this responsiveness to be, let's say, an iPhone 12 Pro Max, right? And don't mind the first one. But you look at these ones, and all of them actually like start one on top of each other, right? Just how you would want it, right? We can probably make this more centered, but it's fine. But the basic thing is that you see that this is actually like fitting into like screen size, right? Fitting into screen size. And we could basically have done it for this one. We could basically have done it for this one to make it resize as the screen size changes. But it's more nuanced than that because we wanted this to be just one FR, but we could actually like fix that. Or probably fix that in the next class, right? But anytime that you have a flexible layout, that it doesn't have to be like, say, it's not a monster, it remains 3x3 all the time, right? That's a chance for you to make a responsive website that no matter how you start reducing the screen size, they adjust to fit perfectly, right? And this, my friend, is one of the basics of responsive website. It looks good on your phone, and it looks good on your desktop, right? Having the best of both worlds. So I would just add here would just to make this auto fit here, make this 300 pixel so that it takes more space than it does before. So that if we should refresh this, it's actually like bigger, right? And then as we're sizing it, it takes this. This is like a tablet size. As we go to like mobile phone web size, it resizes to this. Tell me that your mind is not blown. Nobody is clapping. Yeah,
I'm clapping,
are you not wild? Ladies and
Very
gentlemen,
well.
have I not succeeded in wowing you? Good.
I'm wild.
Good student. So I have 4 minutes left, and we'll bring the stream to an end, but we can talk after. We can talk more things about the class. So what I'll just do now. Oh, I see. Do you know? I don't know how to use YouTube. I just realized I don't know how to use YouTube. I've been using the same streaming link every day because I don't ever end the stream. So I think they just like when they don't get any signal, they just end it. So I will just end this one.